Hello, hello, hello. It's Knits for Sanity, and welcome to this week's Hot Mess Express. That's right. This week is a bit of a hot mess, but I'm still happy you're here. If this is your first time joining me on my channel, thank you for stopping by, and I hope you can embrace the crazy with me this week. And if you have returned, thanks for coming back. Last week, I know that a WIP Chat was not put up, but I did actually make one. However, due to a variety of different reasons, primarily my husband had a meeting and we work in the same house, you could overhear way too much of his meeting on my WIP Chat. And then I thought I'd have the time to re-record my WIP Chat, and that never happened. In fact, I'm such a hot mess that the section of my painting that I have to work on over here, there are a number of issues here. The first one, this is still from that recorded WIP Chat last week. I have not touched this in 6 days, okay? Problem 2, I never even put away my drills for my WIP Chat last week. Problem number 3, I'm not even supposed to be working on this kit right now. I'm supposed to have kitted up and ready to go my DP for Black History Month kit. And yet, here I am, living a week in the past. Nothing's been accomplished. Whew. But a lot of other things have happened, and I'll get to those in a minute. First, though, a little while ago, I mentioned purchasing a new drill pen after I said, hey, I'm looking for a drill pen. I think I want one that's a little bit shorter, something that's easy for me to flip. And 1 or 2 people mentioned Jim's Handmade Pens, and I said, I went ahead and I ordered a pen from him. He was very reasonably priced compared to a lot of other drill pen makers, which again, I have no issue with what people charge for creating their goods. As a crafter myself, a hand knitter, I understand that what may feel like an exorbitant price to some people for buying a shawl that I create actually works out to pennies for me. So I get it. That's not a problem. The problem is I'm poor. So really, I'm the issue, not them. But anyway, Jim's Handmade Pens, this package did come over the weekend, like last weekend. So, several days ago now. And I've been holding on to it. It is not from DP with Sparklers. I'm just using their sticker to cover up my address. However, I do love DP with Sparklers, as you all know, for those of you who have been around for a while. So I want to quick do this unboxing with you so we can look at this together for the first time. So Jim does hand turn these, and I did pick out the the base that I wanted, the blank. All right, so I do have an invoice here, and this is just some additional information. And I have purchased from Jim, I think one time before, maybe late last summer. And here, oh my goodness, look how tiny this is. This is so little. So before I take it out, I will say that I was looking at the dimensions and I was thinking to myself, I wish it could be an inch longer. But it looks like what Jim has done is he's taken a standard size blank, which I think is like 7 inches long, and he's just cut them right in half. So you have a 3.5 inch is what you end up getting. And I was looking at it thinking, 4 inches. I think 4 inches is going to be my sweet spot, but we'll see. But it does come wrapped up in this nice little bag right here. Here it is, guys. Look at how, Now, I got a straightener on one end, and I'm quite certain I had requested a 4-placer. So I'm going to have to look around a minute and see if I can find a 4-placer to put in there. I wonder if there's a note about it on my invoice. Or maybe I couldn't make that selection, but I thought I could. Yeah, I don't see. Maybe it just came standard like this, and that could be. It may have just come standard with a little straightener and then the single placer. But for me, the whole reason why I wanted this little pen was so I could flip it back and forth. So let's see if I can find myself a 4-placer, which is my preferred end, my preferred multi-placer tip. So let's see what I have in here in my plastic replacement placers. Finding a lot of like, yeah, I'm not a 7-placer gal. 3 or 4. 4. Oh, here we go. I can take one off from here. Here's a 4-placer. All right, so let's see if I can pull this out and get it replaced with a 4-placer. All right, so we are going to give this a try and see how this works. Whoop. And I think I'm just going to load this up with wax. And the reason for that is because, do I have some? I think I have some other wax here that, yeah, here we go. The reason for that is because wax I consider kind of like my my control. If you're talking like scientific experiments, I know what wax should do and how wax should work with my diamond paintings. So when I try a new pen, I like to use just regular old wax in there because that I feel like gives me a much better idea of how the pen itself is and not so much the whatever grabbing agent it is that I've opted to use. So that is why we're going to start with the wax, and we'll see how this goes. This could be interesting. All right, so last week thankfully I like to leave this container out so I know exactly which drill color I am working on, and especially if you leave your drills out for an entire week with, you know, surprisingly minimal cat hair in there, which is impressive because I do have a cat that likes to like climb over the shelves in front of my desk and use this as like some special like gateway. I don't understand. She's a little neurotic though. So this is 820, which 820 last week I did already go through and I replaced some of those 820s with these glow AB drills from DP with sparklers. So I already have a number of those in here. And so now it's just getting into my groove again to fill in and finish up what I had started 6 days ago. Yeah, so it has been a really, really busy week, if you could not have guessed based on my intro there. But I think before we get into this week, let's do this week's community question. Now, I'm trying to remember what my community question ended up being last week. I can't remember what, because I was just going to reuse last week's community question. Oh, I remember what it was. What is one thing about your life now that really surprises you? So, you know, let's say go back 10, 20 years, or even, you know, as a child. What is one thing about your life right now that really surprises you? Something that you never saw coming, something that was just totally unexpected for you. So that is the question. And if you are new, community questions are just meant to be a way to try and help grow community and help all of us get to know one another. You know, part of the reason why I wanted to start my channel was to find a community, to build a community. And so I encourage you all to answer these community questions. They're not meant to be invasive or like too terribly personal. So even a question like this, you don't need to give me like a super deep personal answer. Just even little things like a genre of movie that you never thought in a million years you would enjoy watching, or something that you ended up studying, or what your job is right now. Just something that you didn't see coming, that you didn't anticipate ever being a part of your life now in your younger years. And after you answer that question, I encourage all of you to go through and look at other people's answers as well. As, you know, just find out, get to know other people, maybe meet a new friend. So my answer, in case you may not already be able to guess, especially given the season that we are in right now, and if you're thinking, oh, the season that we're in, as in winter, you're wrong. That is not the season that we are in. I mean, yes, it is. Unless, of course, you're in the Southern Hemisphere, in which case it's summer. But no, the season that I am currently in is wrestling season. And that actually takes precedence over the winter season in many, many ways. So the correct answer for what season we are in is wrestling season. And wrestling would be the answer to my question of what is the one thing or a thing that really surprises me about my life right now? And that is definitely, hands down, no contest, the fact that wrestling now consumes hours of my week. Literally hours and hours of my week. I spend so much time involved with wrestling related things during wrestling season that it may as well be at least a part-time job. Between shuttling kids around, between helping out at tournaments and practices, going to all these tournaments and duels, working on videos with my daughter of the duels and all of the bouts. Yeah, it may as well be at least a full-time job during wrestling season. And here is the part that just really, really floors me, is how much I love this sport. I truly, thoroughly, and completely love this sport. And I've mentioned it before, I never saw that coming. My very few contacts or associations that I had with wrestling up until about a decade ago in my life were ranging from neutral to outright negative. I mean, I really wanted nothing to do with this sport. So it is shocking and surprising that here I am today as a mom and really a middle-aged mom at this point that is now totally obsessed with this sport. And actually kind of regrets and feels really sad that I did not discover this sport much, much earlier in life. Like, something that I could have been involved with as an athlete or as a coach, trainer. I'm kind of really bummed about that. So that would be my answer. And of course, if you are not new, you are aware that odds are this week's stories will contain more wrestling stories. And that I can already tell you is a guaranteed, especially because it was my wrestling daughter's birthday just last week. Oh no, I just dropped something. What did I just drop? It just fell off the end of the table here. Oh, putty. Putty is what, and it's in its package, so it's okay. I'm gonna pick it up a second. All right, the putty has been retrieved, but it was nothing serious. All right, so I'm drinking my LaCroix. I've basically become an unpaid spokesperson for LaCroix. So yeah, if you are into fizzy water at all, I do highly recommend LaCroix. My favorites, for the most part, are your pretty standard flavors. You got lemon and lime. I love both of those. This limoncello, this one's quite yummy. It has kind of a sweet hint to it, so it feels like you're drinking more than just sparkling water. So there you go. And now you also know my love of LaCroix. They have a coconut one too. That is, if you like coconut, it's pretty good actually. There are some that I really don't like, especially when they start mixing flavors. The fact that I like this limoncello is kind of a big deal because a lot of the mixed flavors I don't care for. I feel like they taste gross. But this limoncello is really, really yummy. All right, so what has been going on in my world? Oh, a lot. And it has not been diamond painting, which bums me out. But that's okay because I am doing other really awesome things, and that's all right. Diamond painting will always be here. I am hoping to get my DP for Black History Month kitted up. If not today yet, today's Thursday, tomorrow, Friday, I should be able to get that kitted up, and I should be able to start working on that one tomorrow night while watching the bout in the ballpark with my daughter. Yes, bout in the ballpark. That would be University of Michigan going to wrestle Oklahoma in a ballpark in Texas. I know, just try and follow along with that. So I'm hoping by tomorrow night I will finally be set and ready to go. Part of the problem with that is I changed which kit I wanted to do at the last minute for the event, which this event is hosted by Blunts and Gems. And of course, I will link to her in my comments below and my notes below. I am very excited about this event. Sam noticed that there was no diamond painting event for Black History Month. And so she took it upon herself to create one. And she has lined up a number of Black store owners, Black artists to serve as guest speakers. A couple of them have created special items for the event this month that you can purchase. And one gal has these cover minders that I hope are still available. I kept wanting to buy them. Well, there's I really can't and shouldn't be buying anything else, but she has 1 or 2 really adorable cover minders for the event that I really wanted to get. But I've been so busy, I have not gone to search out her shop. So I'm hoping she still has stuff available. The event, the requirements are pretty minimal. There is a Google Doc that you need to fill out, which again, I will link to Blunts and Gems in my notes. You can go there and she has it readily available. So there's a Google Doc to fill out, and then the requirements for your painting are it just needs to feature a Black person, or it needs to highlight Black History Month. So, keep it definitely people of African heritage, African ethnicity. We're not doing any other racial group, just Black people. And I actually went through three paintings, because the first painting that I bought specifically for this event, it came, and I'm really kind of concerned about the canvas. I did an unboxing for it, and I considered sharing the unboxing, but I wasn't, I'm not 100% sure if the canvas is actually going to prove to be difficult or not. I don't want to give the impression that it is indeed a bad canvas without being able to do the canvas and find out. And because I am independent, I am not affiliated with a particular company. I want to be very, very fair. So for this company, I both don't want to sing praises about something that is not worthy of praises. Instead, no, there are a number of flaws, and these are all of the issues. And at the same time, I don't want to come down as harsh or critical when I don't have to be. So I decided to shelve that project. And at some point in my future, I will work on that painting on my own and figure out more of what's going on with it and then report back. So then I had another painting in my stash from Diamond Art Club that I was planning on doing, and I actually did do an unboxing for that painting. It is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It is so, so pretty. And I was totally intent on doing that one. And then I ordered from Carrot Art, and you can watch that unboxing that I just put up a couple of days ago. And there was a painting on Carrot Art that I just thought was too adorable. And so after I did the unboxing and I saw that painting in person, I realized, nope, this is the one that I want to do for the event. And that was January 31st. So it was the evening of January 31st when I realized that I was changing my paintings. So, I still have to kit up. So there you go. That's that long story. Otherwise, books. Remember a couple weeks ago I started talking about books, and remember how I was talking about how I started reading this book about rabies? And I was at that time kind of skimming it, but was thinking that it was so good that maybe I needed to actually start reading this book about rabies. Guys, public service announcement time. Make sure that your dogs are vaccinated. Period. All right, so I did end up actually reading this book. It was fascinating, truly fascinating. Now, the whole book is it's not just about rabies as a disease. It's more of a cultural history of the disease. So you learn about a number of famous people or rabies outbreaks that have happened throughout history. and like long-term history. It was really interesting. This author, she even went, I think it's actually a combination of people, both a male and a female, but I'm just going to say she because I'm all about women and female power, and especially when it comes to the sciences. So we're just going to use the she pronoun. She even went and looked through the Bible, and as well as other sacred texts or very historical documents as well. But she went through the Bible and she points out that there's like no positive mentions of dogs in the Bible. Every time a dog is mentioned, it is a very negative connotation. They are a beast. And that is almost certainly because of the number of dogs that were rabid. So even things like that was just like mind blowing. Like, oh, wow, I'd never thought of that. I'd never considered that. All right. But truly, honestly, sincerely, I don't like get up on I'm very opinionated. If you're new, you'll learn that I am rather opinionated. So I do like get up on my soapbox quite a bit, but very rarely am I actually encouraging people to do something. And in this case, I am going to actually encourage you, make sure that your dogs are vaccinated against rabies. Make sure that they are up to date with their shots. This disease is awful. And we have come to believe, especially in certain countries like the United States, we have come to believe that rabies is something that does not affect us anymore. And that is not true. Absolutely not true. While there are only a handful of people every year that do die from rabies in our country, it is still a handful of people that die from rabies every year in our country. Plus, it's about 55 to 60,000 people world over that die from rabies every year. And guys, this is not a pleasant death. In fact, this would rank amongst one of the most horrible ways to die that I can think of. It is awful. Absolutely awful. And here's the kicker. It is so easy to prevent. Yes, there are vaccines available. However, not all countries have access to like the human, inoculation period vaccine. So after you have been bit or come into contact with the saliva of an infected animal, that is when humans go in and seek treatment. It is a 4-shot process. It is no longer like 20 shots, and the needles are not like this long anymore. No, it's like a pretty normal shot, almost always injected in your arm. So it's not nearly as traumatic as what it was in years past. But it is still a 4-shot cycle. And while it is not like an immediate urgent thing, like you're bit and you have to go right away to the ER, it is definitely an emergent issue. So you need to show up quite quickly because the incubation period can be anywhere from about 6 days up to like 6 weeks. Just kind of depends on where the bite is. It depends on your own particular metabolism. It depends on how much of the virus was present and the saliva of the bite that you got. There are so many factors for how long it can take for the rabies virus to travel through your nerves, because it does travel through our neurons, our nerve system, which is just crazy because that is highly abnormal. But that is its secret to being able to enter the brain. Once it's in the brain, it is too late, people. You are dead. Now, you may be saying, Nits for Sanity, I've heard about people who have survived rabies. You are right. There are indeed a very, very small handful of people who have survived rabies. Of those who have survived rabies, most of them now have very compromised lifestyles with permanent neurological damage. There are two people in the United States that have managed to survive rabies and lead relatively normal lives today. Both happened within the last 20 years. The first was a 15-year-old girl in Wisconsin. She got a very small bat bite on one of her fingers, and she ended up having rabies. Based on her experience, her overseeing physician developed something called the Wisconsin protocol or something like that. That is kind of viewed as like a rabies treatment of sorts. However, many studies since then have concluded that really there's nothing that truly about this very intensive nursing care, which is essentially what it is, that necessarily guarantees success with keeping a rabies patient alive. Essentially, the theory behind it is you put a patient who has been infected by rabies into an induced coma to try and slow down all other bodily processes, because your body does indeed make the antivirals necessary to kill the rabies virus. However, the body can't make this fast enough. So by trying to slow everything down, by putting a patient into a medical induced coma, the idea is that it gives the body more time to develop the antiviral effects necessary, to give your immune system time to build up what it needs to do to kill off the virus. But that doesn't really seem to be the case in both cases. So there was this girl, and she does still have some, relatively significant neurological damage, but nothing that is completely life-altering for her. And then there was another little girl, 8 years old, a wrestler. Yes. Rabies and wrestling have a connection. 8-year-old girl, she contacted rabies, and I can't remember. Her case may have been an especially rare fluke where she actually got it from a cat, which is highly abnormal. In the United States, because we do generally do such a good job with dog vaccinations, you usually do not contact rabies from dogs, which is a very, very good thing, because pretty much if you get rabies from a dog, it is, you're dead. Dead meat, just forget about it. Just, fill out your paperwork, say your goodbyes, and then ask someone to shoot you, because your death will be better that way. No, I am not actually condoning that, by the way. So please don't comment below about how atrocious my suggestion was. Although I personally would really consider it. In the United States, it's generally bats is where we do get the rabies virus from. But 90% of human cases of rabies, more than 90% world over, do come from dogs. So a cat is exceptionally abnormal. But I think this girl, her rabies infection actually did come from a cat. And her grandma, they used the same Wisconsin protocol method. And her grandma was saying that she just kept talking to her granddaughter when she was in the hospital, just pretend that virus is your opponent, pin that virus, just, pin that virus. And this girl did pull through. And other than, it sounds like a bit of a limp with her right ankle, maybe, she is otherwise completely fine. And you would never know that she was, just inches from death's door. All right, but that's it. 2 young girls who were very physically fit and active children. Those are your best case scenarios of survival. So because dogs are more than 90% of human infections, because the rabies virus is perfectly suited for the dog, perfectly suited. The dog's saliva, when infected, contains a lot of the virus. And because the dog rabies virus is its own variant, separate from that of what you see in bats, dogs are deadly if they are rabid. Absolutely deadly. What is the easiest way to prevent a widespread rabies infection, which Bali saw in 2005 or 2008, is vaccinate your dogs. All right. I think I've said enough about that now. Do you want to hear more about rabies? Because I can continue talking to you about rabies because it is fast. So funny story. So I'm watching this television show on Netflix called Border Town. And I hadn't seen it before because for some reason I thought Border Town was about Detroit. But maybe there's another show that's similar, with a similar title, that's about Detroit. And I know Detroit. I've been to Detroit. I don't really want to see a show about Detroit. So I haven't been watching it, but no, it turns out it's actually a Finnish show. And it's a border town with Russia. Oh, well, that's different. And it's all fiction. Completely different kind of premise. Well, in this show, I'm halfway through a story arc. They have episodes that are either, it's 2 or 3 episodes long to finish one story. And I'm right in the middle of one of these story arcs. And these people are coming down with this mysterious illness. And I'm watching this going, it's rabies. And you know what? It was rabies. But what got me is they were a little over the top with, I mean, maybe Finland has an issue where people are not vaccinating their animals. That could be, because they were kind of extreme with the ways in which you could actually contract rabies. Yes, there are theoretical possibilities. Yes, the rabies virus can be found in like semen. But a few people are, going to be doing that activity by the time they are symptomatic with rabies. And there's only like 1 or 2 days prior where you're just feeling maybe a little bit off and are contagious, but don't feel like full-blown sick. I mean, and it's such a minimal amount, but like they were totally blowing this up, like big time. So basically, if you breathed around someone who was maybe infected, you had to go in and get the full course of treatment. So that made me chuckle a little bit, because they definitely kind of went over to the extreme end. I mean, don't get me wrong, rabies is a very, very, very real threat, and it is very deadly, but there are definite ways that you do get this disease. And generally speaking, a sexually transmitted disease, rabies is not. So anyway, that I think now is the end of my rabies talk. I think. I say that a lot, but I think I'm done now. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. So my son, my sweet, precious little son. I've talked before about how on Mondays when I take him to and from dance class, those are the times when this kid often says the darndest things. It's because we're in the car for a long time together, between the commute down to his class, the commute back from his class, and then for the about 50 minutes that he sits in the car to have a small dinner in between his 2 classes. We're in the car together a lot on Mondays. Well, the last couple of weeks, he has had some observations that have just floored me. Last week, and this one you may have caught if you follow me on Instagram, which if you don't, you are welcome to. It's just Knits for Sanity. You can look me up. I'm there. And I post pictures of the kids and stuff and talk more about the kids. And I'm a little bit of a writer, so there's more stories there too. But last week we're driving home, and all of a sudden he says to me, "I'm going to miss my soft cheeks." And I'm driving, and I'm like, soft what is he even talking about? I mean, first, what cheeks are we talking about here? The cheeks on the face or the cheeks on your rear end? I don't know, especially with this kid. I'm not sure what cheeks he's talking about. So I just say, what do you mean? And he says, well, I'm going to miss my soft cheeks when my beard grows in. Dead. Oh, he's 7. Let me just remind you, he is 7. He has a few years, but he's already very, very sad about the fact that, when his beard comes in, he's not going to have those soft cheeks anymore. And I will admit, you know what? I'm going to miss his soft cheeks too. But seriously, kid, you're 7. 7. Oh, cracks me up. He absolutely cracks me up. Of course, this is the kid who also is absolutely insistent, believes 100% that he does indeed have some beard hair coming in. Like, he ran over to his father having to show off his beard hair. There's no beard hair, it's just your face has hairs on it. But, to my kid, this is sincere. He is starting to grow a beard, which would explain why he's now very concerned about losing his soft cheeks. Anyway, so that was last week. This week, we're almost home, and he says, "Mom, is your thumb a finger?" I said, "Yes, son. Physiologically speaking, your thumb is a finger. It's considered one of your fingers." "Oh," he says, "now I know why your middle finger is your middle finger." Yes, because otherwise, he's thinking, I only have 4 fingers. How is this my middle finger? The middle would be right here. But now that we include our thumb, now he understands his middle finger. So he felt all enlightened after that. So that's good. That's great. The kid really is funny. And there are other stories that I so desperately wish I could share with you. And I just can't. I just can't, because it would not be fair to my poor kid. Although I desperately want to, because even for posterity's sake, it may be worth it. Anyway, in other news, daughter number 3 is in Odyssey of the Mind, and she has her competition coming up next week, Saturday, their regional competition. And for the last couple of years, husband and I have to take team. He does the OM competition, and I do the individual districts competition wrestling with my middle daughter, who is a manager for the high school team as a 7th grader. And it is her 3rd year serving in this position. So it's kind of funny, because actually the head coach has a son the same age as my youngest daughter, and the two of them are on the same OM team. So every year I end up counting on the head coach's wife to help out with some transportation stuff, because my husband, I always sign up to volunteer at the OM event, because every team needs to have a volunteer. And I just make my husband do it because he's a great guy and he's willing to do that. But then that means that someone else will have to take my daughter either to or from the competition. So every year it's like the family's split. So this year my husband will drop my daughter off at head coach's house with a wife and their son, and he'll go off and he'll volunteer, and then head coach's wife will take my daughter to the OM regional competition. Meanwhile, head coach and his oldest son and me and my middle daughter will be at individual districts for wrestling. So that takes place not this Saturday, but the Saturday after that. So this Saturday is actually our individual conference final. I don't, it's hard to say. I think we will see some pretty good successes within our team this weekend at the conference. Individual districts, I don't know. I don't want to make public predictions. I do have some thoughts, but like I said, I don't want to make public predictions, because you never know who may see this and then feel like, oh, I can't believe that Miss T thought that about me. So yeah, there we go. But I will say this, there is one young gentleman that we are desperately hoping does phenomenally well. And that would be our Ian. He's our only senior competing this year, because of course, much beloved, favorite athlete, Trent, had to have surgery and could not wrestle at all this year, which I think has been really hard for him, especially, this was his last year with wrestling. He is not wrestling in college. He plans to do football in college. He has gotten some offers at schools for football. So this was going to be the end of the road for him with wrestling. So my daughter's really sad for him, and it's been kind of a bummer of a year because of it. But Ian's been having a great year, and we really hope and anticipate that he should do really, really well at state individual finals. But we'll see. That's the thing about wrestling, and that's part of what makes it just so awesome, is you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen on that mat. There is no telling. One wrong move, and you may have a, 45-0 record, and suddenly you are pinned within seconds by someone who came in there with a 20-28 record. And that is just what makes wrestling awesome. Other news in wrestling, my daughter had her birthday last week Friday, and part of her present is we got tickets to see U of M again last Sunday. And because they were talking winter storm, in addition to having the chance to go see U of M again, we also went directly from the team tournament that day, drove across state, and just stayed in a hotel Saturday night, because it was supposed to be absolutely miserable weather all Saturday night through Sunday morning, and we would have had to have left quite early Sunday to make it there for the duel. Like the duel started at noon, and really doors are open at 11, but my daughter, she knows now exactly where she wants to sit. And you got to be first in line to get these seats. So for my daughter, it's not good enough to get there when doors open. Oh, no. She wants to be there like 45 minutes ahead of time and wait out in the cold. So we got a hotel room, which she loves staying in hotels. I mean, loves it. And, went directly from the high school duel tournament to Ann Arbor to see U of M. Until about 10 miles west of Lansing, which is the state capital. It was quite literally some of the absolute worst driving that I have ever experienced. And I am a West Michigan native, okay? I grew up along the lakeshore. I am accustomed to, bam, 24 inches of snow. This was bad driving. But it's one of those things, once you get going, it's better to just keep going as opposed to trying to turn around and head back, especially when I knew we would eventually outdrive it. And we did. Once we were at Lansing, really, it was fine and clear. And the last little bit of the drive was easy breezy, piece of cake. And then I heard the next day that things were absolutely just a mess here. And I don't think we would have been able to go had we waited till the next morning. And then because his youngest daughter forgot to put the ice scraper back into my car, Sunday morning, my daughter and I went out to head to the Cliff Keen Arena, but the car was all covered in ice and there was no ice scraper in my car. So we had to just sit and wait. I went out and I kind of scraped with my hand, and got some ice chunks off. But for the most part, you just got to sit there and wait till your car warms up enough that everything starts to defrost. That was annoying. And my daughter was starting to really freak out. Like, Mom, we're going to get there too late. I won't be first in line. Mom, we aren't going to be there in time. We're not going to get the right seats. But I will have we got there. And yes, we did see people. There were a couple of clubs that came Sunday, which is awesome. I love seeing wrestling clubs go to college wrestling events. So there were a couple of clubs that were there. And so we did start walking toward the doors. And I said, well, Veda, we're now pros at this. We know the other entrance. So we walked around outside the building. It was a cold morning, but we walked around outside and we went to the other doors. So she was first in line at that doors. Well, by the time we got to those doors and I looked through on the other side, there ended up only being one or two people waiting at the other doors at that point because a volunteer came, opened the door, and she's like, you do realize doors don't open till 11. And I said, oh yeah, we're aware. As I'm zipping up my coat and putting on my hood. But she was first in line again. We got right in. We had a game plan because now that we're actually in line, now I'm the one who starts getting anxious. Okay, so now we need to come up with our game plan in order to get these seats. This is what we got to do, So then Veda is now giving me a hard time, even though she's the one that was freaking out in the car because it wasn't defrosting fast enough. She was the one who was literally dragging me, grabbing my coat and dragging me to the Cliff Keen Arena door entrance. But now that we're in line and I'm the one going over game plan about how to get the best seats, now she gives me a hard time about it. In the end, yes, we got the best seats. And to top it all off, her favorite college wrestler, Mr. Will Luan is his name, 157, weight class. She had sent a message with advice for him that we learned was indeed shown to him by the coach about being more aggressive. You got to be more assertive. You need to, change it up a little bit. It'll work out. This young man, bam, right away went for the takedown, turned him over for 4, and shortly after that, got a pin. First of the season. Pins his opponent. Well, Veda just felt yeah, that was me. That was totally my coaching. And I'm thinking to myself, that's really cute. That's really sweet. I mean, to the point she texts her dad all excited. Hey, Luan got a pin. And her dad is like, oh, he must have listened to you. And Veda's like, yeah, he must have. I told him it would work out if he'd be more aggressive. And so I'm thinking, oh, that's really sweet. That's really cute. Well, then I come to find out that, in fact, he was read Veda's letter. So, she may have had a very small part in his success Sunday. So that was really fun. In the end, Veda had an absolutely phenomenal and fabulous birthday weekend. And yes, there will be more U of M wrestling in our future for this season yet. I'm just not 100% sure what's going to happen. I'm in between colors. That's why I'm kind of just sitting here, even though I could start a new color. That's a crazy thought. Maybe I'll do that. Let's get my next color going, shall we? What color is that? Let's see. I'm looking at this upside down. $7.96. Okay. And more LaCroix. All right, so yes, Michigan has 2 more home duels. One of them I think we'll be able to make weather dependent. It's always weather dependent, which is the hard part. And the other one, I just don't really think it's going to be feasible for us to go to. If it's something that will work out, that will be great, but that would be like a total bonus. She's not counting on that one. I told her not to count on that one. But then also the Big Ten Championship is in Ann Arbor this year, which is really cool. Really, really cool. Last year, I don't remember if it was in Omaha. I can't remember where they were now. So it's not normal to have these large events local to you. And so, of course, she really wants to go. And in a way, it would make sense because we will already be on the other side of the state for the high school individual state tournament. We may need to miss a little bit of the Big Ten because of the individual. But, it would make sense because we're already pretty much over there. There are some tickets available, but they're not good seats. At least not, wrestling is the kind of sport where ideally you want to see it as close up as you can. But I don't know that my daughter would care. And the tickets are not outrageously priced either because it's wrestling. For the Big Ten Championship and to get these not great seats, it's $30 a ticket, which, I've spent more than that many times for concerts and such. In fact, we're going to spend a heck of a lot more than that for the high school state individuals. Last year, those tickets were $97 each. And that was for the whole weekend, all of the wrestling on Friday and Saturday. But I just could not get over that price tag last year. It was like $200 just to buy the tickets. And then, of course, you pay for parking. You need a hotel. It is so expensive. But her grandfather is sending money to help out with that so that she will be able to join the teammates who do end up going to state this year, which is good. So yeah, it's not like the tickets are like really expensive. We'd already be on that side of the state. At that point, it would only be one more night in a hotel, and I can actually use some reward points and get, it won't completely cover my full night at the hotel, but it would definitely cover a good chunk of it. So it's like, it really wouldn't be that much of a hassle to stay. I don't know. Maybe I should just get the tickets for her. And it'll be really awesome. She would love it. And I would too, because I'm now totally a wrestling nerd. Again, what's that one thing or a thing that you never thought would be in your life right now? Yep, I'm totally wrestling. I'm totally into the sport. I love it. Totally love it. All right, and now I'm just talking to myself. But I think maybe I'll do that. That's not a bad idea. Okay. So, what else is going on, people? Is there anything else that I absolutely really feel like I have to fill you in on? I don't think so. I mean, there's stuff that I want to tell you. I wish I could talk more about my oldest daughter, but my oldest daughter is super private. Just super private. She doesn't even hardly show me her own artwork, which is phenomenal. I wish she'd share more with me. But I also have to respect that. You know, that's her personality. She does not like people knowing her business. She's self-conscious. But guys, she's a cool kid. She's a really cool kid. So I will keep working on her, and hopefully I can share more and show you more of the stuff that she's been doing. But I think that's about everything. I did have one request a couple weeks ago to share like more information about wrestling, and I think wrestling is a sport, and so I will do that in the future. I won't anymore. I think that might be like a really good thing to do immediately post-season when I don't have any more duels or tournaments to talk about so much. But I would love, I mean, the fact that this lady reached out and she's like, would you talk more about wrestling? Was like music to my ears. There are few things that could warm my heart more than that, is to have someone in the crafting community say, hey, could you talk more about this like super rough, hardcore sport? I'd love to learn more. I will gladly tell you. Thank you for asking. But I think I will save that, like I said, for when it is not currently in season. So you can get a little bit more variety in what's going on with stuff. All right, guys, I think then that is going to wrap this up for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, and if you are still here, please like this video. Consider subscribing to my channel. If you like this content, not just subscribe, but share, comment. These are all things that really, really, really help us super small-time YouTubers. Just more than anything, it lets us know that we are appreciated and you like what we're doing, because that's really all that we're looking for. And like I always say, please practice kindness. You never know what someone is going through, so just be kind. And I hope that you are shown the same degree of kindness. I hope that you are having an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you again real soon.